Hello, everyone. This is John Byrne again with Poets and Quants. We are having a Center Court one-on-one interview with the head of the MBA program at UVA Darden School of Business. Let me introduce Tom to you. It's Thomas Steenburgh, who is also a master marketing professor, a superstar marketing professor at Darden, someone I've had the pleasure of knowing for a number of years. Hi, Tom.
Hey, John, thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be with you.
And great to see you. I have to tell everyone that we had a Sunday business meeting once where you were preparing the next week's classes with your marketing core professors. And I want to mention that because can you believe that these academics actually get together and work on a Sunday? That is dedication.
I have a dedicated team. Yeah.
So as everyone knows or should know, Darden is predominantly a case study school. And I wonder if you could explain to people who don't know about case study method teaching or haven't experienced it themselves, what that is like.
Yeah, that's a great question. So case method teaching really is you give students a case, they read it in the background, they come prepared to talk about it. We do it for all of our subjects. So finance and DA, decision analysis, marketing, all the way to leadership. And it works really well. The quantitative skills work as much as the qualitative skills work in this environment where we teach each other what's going on, how to process the case. And for us, we have a strong disposition towards teaching general management skills. And to be an effective general manager, you need to be able to process data. You need to have strong quant skills. We have great quant courses with that. But it's really not just learning the skill of how to analyze and think critically about data, but taking that data and then putting it in a broader context of how does it affect your decision making and how might other people process that data, and how can I explain to a big group of people if I need to motivate a group of people in my later career to take an action, how could I use what I know to explain to them why they should do what they're doing? Almost all of our cases have a decision focus to it because we're teaching people to make decisions, and that allows you to sort of practice those integrative types of skills. It's a really engaging environment. People enjoy being in class. It's a very rigorous environment. So we have high expectations of our students. We have very bright students that come. They're a lot of fun to work with. And our expectation is that you come to class and engage with each other. And so not only do you learn the material, you actually get to learn people really well. You get to learn about differences in how people think, and meet a wide variety of just really bright people that'll be with you for your whole career.
I also think case study learning is a great way to learn. It's a fun way to learn because you're effectively stepping into the shoes of a decision maker who's facing an important challenge in his or her business. And you work through that challenge to come up with a solution. Oftentimes there's no right or wrong answer. Isn't that correct?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So there are a lot of ambiguous things about these, about the solutions and cases.
Right. I think that's a skill that really helps people later in their career. You'll make lots of big decisions as you lead an organization, and you won't exactly know what the right answer is. What we do is sort of help people navigate that ambiguity and become more comfortable with it. And you can get yourself to a point where you can rule out doing some stupid things, which is useful. And that usually comes out in the discussion like, yeah, okay, we might be able to solve this in 3 different ways. And then there's a couple of things we really, actually having talked to people, those are dumb. We should not do that. It's a lot like life that way.
And in your core, you teach to a cohort of 65 students, right?
Yeah, around 65 students in the class.
So if you break that down, I'm just going to do this in my head. What a case study does as well is leverage the work experiences of those 65 students, which comes to over 250 years of experience. Now that's a magical thing that happens in a case study classroom. Now, I'm going to want to say this to everybody out there because you're going to say, oh, well, every business school does case study teaching. And that is true. They may not do it as exclusively or extensively as Darden or Harvard does it. But here's the difference. There are case study teachers and then there are teachers. And you go to a school like Darden or Harvard, and you are going to get master teachers in this way to teach, which is incredibly demanding to orchestrate a fast-paced, dynamic discussion amongst smart people on a complicated topic. And magic happens in that room as the ping pong goes all over the place, and you're cold calling people, and people are trying to get airtime, and it's a fascinating environment. It really is.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think watching other people teach case as opposed to what we do at Darden and at Harvard as well. I think one of the differences in approach is that we very much are comfortable with forcing the students to struggle with the topic. So we don't spoon feed anything along the way. We have very smart kids. We take advantage of that. And not only do we have the work experience that you talk about, if I ask like how many people have struggled with this problem, I'll get 5, 10 hands up on almost any topic at least. We have a large degree of variation with domestic international students. So you draw on, like how do people think about brands in India or China? How do people think about cross-cultural differences, which I think is really wonderful as you're trying to become a global leader as you will these days, to have had that experience while you're at the early stage of your career and just see how different cultures process data is wonderful.
True. That's really true. The other thing I want to refer to is what I mentioned earlier, why Tom and his core marketing faculty were meeting on a Sunday to discuss their classes that they had just taught the past week and to plan for the previous week. And I think that speaks to the quality of the teaching and the dedication of the professors to teach in the classroom at Darden. And, when you look at, and rankings are all over the place, many years, but when you parse rankings that survey students and alumni, you will consistently find that Darden is at the very top in the quality of the faculty and the quality of the teaching in those MBA courses. And that's a really big deal, because if you're not in academia, you may not know that there's tremendous pressure to research, and most schools emphasize research over teaching. At Darden, you've got to be a great teacher and a great researcher, both. And if you're not, you ain't gonna make it.
It's really something that all of us at the school care deeply about, is having some sort of impact on our students, and we all love it. And that makes it a really fun place to be the MBA program dean, because you have a dedicated group of people, often with really strong and interesting opinions, that just want to make sure that we have an unparalleled experience for our students. And it's something that we all deeply care about.
And trust me, case study teaching is not easy. The first year curriculum in the core at Darden is among the most difficult, most demanding cores that you will find in any business school. That is definitely true based on the surveys that I've read over the years. And believe me, the alums complain at Darden, just so you know, this is inside information. The alums complain because they think Darden has made it a little bit easier for this generation of MBAs going through the core, because they remember when they went through the core, how many more case studies they had to read, absorb and comment on in the classroom. Am I right, Tom?
That's absolutely right.
Oh, well.
Yeah, every generation feels like the younger generation has it easier.
Of course, people going through the program won't think that, but it's
No, they won't.
that's good. The other really thing about Darden to me is you're in a beautiful location. You have a great campus, and that campus fosters a real deep sense of community. And one of the rituals of the school is coffee. Explain what that is, coffee.
Yeah. So every morning from 9:30 to 10, we have a gathering of everyone at the school who can make it, called First Coffee, and it's just a way for faculty and students to talk, staff to talk. We come down to the Pacifico Forum and have coffee. On Wednesday we have croissants too, which is quite nice. And it's just an informal way to get to know each other. I think one of the premiums that that we place at Darden when you speak about community is for there will be faculty and student interaction, not only in the classroom like we described, but outside of the classroom. And that's one of the ways that happens, where you can chat about whatever's on your mind and get to know each other as people. It really is it's a lovely tradition. It's a wonderful tradition that we keep. It's funny you mentioned that, because even when last year, when a lot more was distance, we always had in-person instruction, but a lot more was distance, we still kept First Coffee. There was still that tradition of getting together was part of what we wanted to do. So it's something that we hold dear for sure.
And it's very cool to meander into that rotunda area and have a First Coffee and see how easily people are mingling and engaging with each other. It's really a lovely sight, frankly. Now, I know a few years ago, you guys went through some revisions on the MBA curriculum. Mm-hmm. One of them was to make required as part of the experience, experiential learning. Now, it's not that you weren't doing experiential learning before, but it was done in this course, that course, and you could have a lot of it or a little of it, but a requirement was made. Talk about that requirement and what people do in it.
So at this point, actually, with the experiential learning, we've migrated the curriculum a bit, and we don't require experiential learning. We have different things that we're doing now, but we have a lot of opportunities for experiential learning, and we've moved it not just in the first year required curriculum, but also into the second year. For our curriculum, we have experiential learning that takes place there. There are other things that we've done with the curriculum to sort of, let's say, align it with where people are going in their career. So in the last 2 to 3 years, one of the things that I've done is develop paths for people going into our big recruiting outlets. So we place a lot of people in consulting, investment banking, general management, marketing, technology. Actually is big and growing like it is at many schools in terms of job placements. With the program committee and with our board, our alumni board, we've put together these career track electives that give people paths to move into these careers, and not only focused on like, how do I get my first job, but how do we design a curriculum that separates Darden students from other students so that they really shine 5 and 10 years out in their career? Like, what is distinctive about a Darden student? So within those tracks, we have a combination of things. Some of it's experiential learning. Others of it is technical skills, like, let's say, narrower skills that helps you compete right away in a job and gets you up to speed on that. And others long-term types of things that helps you develop as a person, helps you develop as a leader, helps you have some of the soft skills, let's say, so that when you're leading a big organization and you're making general management decisions that affect many, many people, you have the breadth that you need, and you have the people skills that you need to be able to make those decisions and effectively lead an organization. And we've created these career tracks in the first year, most things are required for your first 3 quarters. After that, you have choice in Q4 of your first year. And then your second year, it's pretty much up to you. So we want to give students choice, but we also deeply care about that we're helping you grow as a person and that you can have a career, the career that you want. And we'll give you some guidance, let's say, John, about the types of experiences that you should put yourself through to grow as a leader going into those industries. So the thought is really to both give people choice to develop themselves for the career that they're going into, but also not to make them feel like they're all on their own. Like this is all up to you. Sure, it's do it. I think graduate school at some level is a do-it-yourself project, but we're here to help you. And we actually have some knowledge that we'd like to share with you as you're making your own decisions.
You also have, and this may have changed a little bit during the pandemic, and hopefully, if it did, it's coming back, global immersion trips that are actually financed by a generous donor.
That's right.
Many schools will have global immersions and you have to pay extra for them. That's not true at Darden. So where are those trips in the scheme of the pandemic?
So we have a scholarship that we've raised money for, that Scott raised money for, and in particular because we believe of the importance of a global education, having global immersion. You see, as soon as you started talking about that, I get a big smile on my face because it's been challenging in the last couple of years to make that happen. I am so delighted that, knock on wood, as of this point, we're running those trips a month from now. Everything I have what's been described as a yellow light to make that happen. We're in really great shape to make that happen. But every student at Darden who wants one, you're not required to do it, but let me tell you, the vast majority of students, regardless of where they come from, take us up on this, have a scholarship to take a global immersion in a variety of different countries. The only thing that's probably changed a little bit this year is that we're more concentrated in countries that have, let's say, really strong healthcare systems for all the reasons you might expect. In normal years, we go all over the globe, and every continent, pretty much, we have a global immersion in. They're wonderful experiences, and I'm all I could tell you is I've been answering questions about this for 2 years. I'm so grateful that I believe that they're going to be happening. So we can get this class through.
What are some of the countries that your students will venture to?
This year it's heavily in Europe, and actually we've made a couple domestic ones available for students, let's say, that they're nervous for teaching or going out of the country. That's unusual. We have immersions in Vietnam. We have immersions in Iceland, in Europe, in Africa, South America. We had one in Patagonia a few years ago. I don't believe we're running that one this year. We have an amazing one in Italy with Luca, who teaches marketing. He's incredible teacher. That he's actually going with Scott, and they focus. Yeah. If I can use that as an example of what we'll do, they're studying luxury goods. Nothing could be better for fashion and luxury than going to Italy. They'll see fashion in Milan. They'll see, I believe they went to Ferrari last time. They went to one of the, I think it was Ferrari, and just went all around studying luxury goods at various locations. They spent a little bit of time in Rome. So you get to see people who are actually doing the work that's most interesting to them, and hear it straight from their mouth about how, what they get excited about in doing their work and getting up every day. It's a wonderful experience.
Very cool. And Tom has referred to someone called Scott. Scott is the dean of the Darden School, a former senior partner at McKinsey. Scott Beardsley, is going to go on this trip with Luca, one of your superstar professors. You can look him up on Poets and Quants. He was a professor of the year, and I've written about him. Terrific guy, and a lot of fun, and a great teacher.
Yeah.
And of course, he's under Tom's wing there in the marketing area. That's going to be really cool, and I'm glad you're going to be able to venture around and bring the students to these different locales. It's going to be great.
I'm so grateful.
Now, when people ask you, Tom, who don't know you, maybe you bump into someone at a party, and they ask you, so Tom, what do you do? What do you tell them?
Like, how do I spend my day?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a little bit of everything, and that's how I like it. I think Darden attracts people who like to do different things. I love to teach. I love mentoring junior faculty, helping my team come up the curve with teaching. It's really one of the great joys. Our teaching group meetings have always been great. There's always some you learn something and you're doing important work together. So that's fun to do. I spend a lot of my time with students. I had a town hall yesterday. We're a very collaborative culture. I do a lot of leading without proper authority, let's say, and interacting with students. I'm very comfortable with that. Like it's I think we're a collaborative place, and I like interacting with people. Over the last couple of years, I think there have been some really challenging times, and students have been frustrated with the lockdown. They've been frustrated with different things. I think the thing that I feel really good about in terms of how we've gotten through the pandemic and my role in helping the school get through the pandemic is that we've stayed in it together. And so it's really nice to be able to be a leader at a community where people care for each other, will listen to each other. And sure, everybody gets frustrated with whatever job you have, whatever organization you're in. There will be moments where you're frustrated. I think we take the time to listen. We really do try to give people the best experience possible. And I think given that sort of collaboration, we didn't have a big breakout of COVID. We never had to shut down. And I think part of that is students really respect the faculty respect the students. We tend to try to find solutions where everyone may not get exactly what they want, but in the end, we're pretty darn happy with the outcome. So, like most senior leaders, you spend your time managing different constituency groups, listening, trying to find solutions that promote the greatest good, and quite frankly, over the last couple of years, to take care of the most vulnerable to the best of your possible ability.
Sure. Tom, if I were to take some of your alums out to a meal at one of the great restaurants in Charlottesville, and believe me, there are many great restaurants in Charlottesville, I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Since I'll disclose, I recently moved to this town. And Tom and his wife once took me out to a really wonderful place called Bijou, which is definitely a place you should stop in and visit. But if I were to take your alums out and ask them, what are the 3 things about the program and the MBA experience at Darden that most resonated with you, what 3 things do you think they would tell me?
I asked this both from a retrospective look and a prospective look of what our alums would say. So I'd say one thing that our alums are really passionate about to a person is that they feel like you need to have a general management focus in your career. Because as you move up the ladder, whatever industry you're in, you're going to be fielding a wide variety of problems, and that breadth sort of helps you understand the world. And so that's really important here. I think another thing that's really interesting with that, and this is why I always talk about developing T-shaped people, is that there's a growing desire in areas in particular to also have depth. So I'll give an example of a conversation I had with one of our alums. He said, I'm in consulting now, so we need people to recognize a wide variety of problems and solve a wide variety of problems. There's also an expectation now that when you come to us, you will have a set of skills that you can add value right away in your industry. So there's pressure to be able to contribute immediately. And the example that he gave was, if you go into healthcare practice, you should be able to contribute and know something about that really complex industry right away. Right. And so we've developed our curriculum with that thought in mind, of trying to develop T-shaped people. Both of those skills are important. And it was awesome to me at that board meeting when we had that discussion to listen to the alums debate with each other about the importance of both of those things. Which was, it was really great. Another thing that our alums talked about being really important to them was the ability to work with other people. So it gets into these soft skills. And because of the learning teams that we have, where everybody, when they come into the core, not only has a section that they're in, but they're assigned to a group, a mixed group of 6 people, where they pre-talk about the cases and get ready for the discussion. That experience and other experiences that we build in the program of working with each other is really important, because you're going to be working in your teams your whole career. And those interpersonal skills are important to them. And the other thing is that when our alumni talk about the experience that they had, they almost always talk about the ethical nature of our decision making, about the importance to give back to the world, about we have an ethics requirement at Darden, which not all schools do. Some do, not all do, but those experiences are really unique and important to them. And they talk about how that shaped their career when they've gone through difficult moments. They've relied on those discussions that they've had in ethics, in leadership, and how it's shaped their thinking in solving, what are very amorphous types of problems, and help them make better decisions. And they're really proud of the institution for challenging them to think that way early in their career. So those would be probably three hallmark things that I'd say about Darden.
And those are great hallmark things. Well, Tom, it's been a real pleasure. Good to see you again. And thank you for giving us the lowdown on the Darden MBA program. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I always love our conversations, John. Just thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to spend some time with you today and talk about the program. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, really.
Yeah.
All right, then. Thank you for joining us. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You've been listening to the head of the MBA program at Darden School of Business, Tom Steenburgh. Thank you so much. See you soon.